September 16. I'd like to call the operations subcommittee of the Berkshire Regional School Planning Board to order as posted. This meeting will be video and audio recorded via Zoom, and a quorum of the subcommittee is present. And welcome, fellow members of the subcommittee. And the first item on our agenda is adoption of the minutes of our July 29 meeting as submitted in draft form for discussion by Marcy Bush. Thank you very much. And is there a motion to adopt those minutes?
Mr. Chairman, do you want me to unmute the members of the subcommittee?
Please.
If you're a member of the subcommittee and you're muted, could you also unmute yourself for me? Tara. All right, Marcy is unmuted, Sean Stephen is unmuted, Stephen Bannon is unmuted, and Tara is unmuted.
Okay, is there a motion to adopt the minutes of our meeting as submitted by Marcella Bush of July 29, 2020?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I wasn't at the meeting. I can't second it. I'm an alternate here.
I can second it, but there's two things that I think need to be added.
Okay, further discussion is welcome.
Okay, there was no information about the motion to make Marcy Bush nominated the minute taker.
Oh,
that was totally left off. And yep. I don't remember who made the motion or seconded it, but it was all in favor.
Okay, I'll check my notes.
Okay,
so that I also never got minutes.
Okay.
Okay.
So that needs to be added. And on the line that after the motion, the George McGurn motion, and then the motion should be put in for Marcy. The second line after that where it says Ms. Prashkar then outlined the questions she has asked each of the committees to explore. You need to put an E on the end of explore.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We have 5 members present, one of whom cannot vote, although a quorum is present to vote. Would you like to vote with the edits accepted, or would you like to postpone this to our next meeting?
Vote with the edits accepted.
Okay, all those in favor?
That's roll call vote.
Roll call vote, yes. Tara?
Tara White, aye.
Steve? Bannon?
Aye. Aye.
Marcy Bush?
Yes.
And George McGurn votes yes. The motion is accepted.
George, could I have a brief point of order?
Excuse me.
Don Coburn speaking.
Yes, Don.
Can I have a brief point of order?
Please.
Is John Silbert a member of your subcommittee?
Yes, he is.
He is. All right. Thank you, sir.
Yes. Under scheduled issues, we have a Mars data update. This agenda was written, as you all know, last week, and we did receive several documents as promised from Mars, our planning board's one of our planning board consultants. We received them only yesterday. I'm not suggesting that we discuss these documents this evening. However, if anyone has any reaction, initial reaction to the documents we received, whether they met or did not meet the expectations of the members of this subcommittee, I'd be interested in knowing where you stand.
George,
Well,
we had a town meeting last night and I've not even looked at them.
yeah. I had the same problem. I did not get a chance to review them in full. I pulled them down and I breezed through them, but I wasn't fully able to read all of what they had sent.
I understand.
Yeah, neither was I.
Yes, and no, Marcy, you were elsewhere. I'm very glad you were able to join us this evening. And Sean, I assume you're in the same boat.
No, actually, I did read them. I guess I'm the one who did. And as far as the I'm trying to remember, there was quite a few of them attached. I think there's a couple. There's some examples of school districts that created their own regional school districts, and I think the last one was sort of it was a regional school district that accepted another school district into it. Am I correct?
Yes.
Anybody else read them? So that was really, so it seemed to me if those are the only examples that we have, that there's no example of regional school districts, two different regional school districts combining it together. And some of the other stuff, I'm trying to remember. So, we had the stats from Southern Berkshires, from Berkshire Hills, and projections of attendance and enrollment and things like that. It's helpful for the conversation, but I think, as I said, there's no example of two school districts coming together like we're trying to do. And I think that makes it, a hard slog. It's going to be tough work.
I think that's a very good point, Sean, and I'd be interested in others' reactions to it, because there were, whether you've had a chance to read these documents or not, there were several examples actually of two towns or two singles, towns with single schools coming together, some successfully, some not. But here we're talking about 8 towns, which is, as Mars told us at their initial presentation, not to the planning board, but the kind of working group that we had prior to that. No one's ever done this. So this is from that point of view, a pioneering effort. But two towns coming together, two town meetings agreeing on it, and two school committees agreeing on it. We have two school committees, but we have 8 towns. So it's kind of a different phenomenon.
But that doesn't make it impossible to do.
No, nobody's saying it's impossible to do. I think
Yeah.
it's just, this is something that has not been done before, and therefore it's going to require a lot of work to get done.
Yes, well, I've always found that really exciting.
So can I add some additional information that might be helpful to the
Please.
subcommittee? So Mars is actually currently working on the possible consolidation of 2 regional school districts. And that's not included in the summary because they're still working on it. But they've completed a very extensive report, 100 plus pages, report for those 2 regional districts. And that report will soon be public, which I think will be very helpful to us because it will not only illustrate the issues with which we will have to grapple, but will sort of lay out the scope of work before us. So I'm looking forward to getting my hands on that report. And Mars has promised me that they will send it to us as soon as it is public. And I think it'll be very helpful to us in just, as I said, mapping out the path ahead.
It's a great guideline.
Yeah.
Good, thank you, Lucy. Do we have a time frame for that, Lucy?
I think pretty soon. My impression was days, but that was days ago. So I'm not sure, but I don't think it's going to be months.
Okay, well, that would be a much anticipated document. Lucy, we don't at the moment have a meeting scheduled for the entire planning board. I think.
Yeah, so my idea, my plan is once we get the final deliverable from Mars, which is the financial report for both Berkshire Hills and Southern Berkshire, which will have projections going forward, assuming both districts stay separate. Once we have that, which I hope we'll have in the next couple of weeks, my hope is that we can get Mars to present their reports, and that report in particular, because it's going to be, I think, the most interesting of all the reports. My hope is to have them present the basic findings and their methodology to the full planning board at our next full planning board meeting, probably end of October.
Okay, thank you.
And then once it's presented in that way, then the subcommittees can digest it and discuss it and follow up on the issues that it raises.
Very good, thank you, Lucy. Do the subcommittee members wish to discuss anything further on the Mars data update? Hearing none, the next scheduled issue was what reads as member discussion of division of labor on the following questions. The following questions actually are what are reflected in our minutes that we just adopted with the edits to come. And it sounds to me like what I would suggest we do is, these are thematic suggestions that run across all of the issues, but it seems to me it's pretty difficult to go much beyond where we have already this evening until we get this much anticipated report in the near future. But I'd certainly like to open this meeting to any discussion or observations about that.
I guess who was at this last meeting? I mean, I was not there. And who is not here now? And how was again, I've not seen the minutes, so I don't know how things were broken out.
Sean, actually, the minutes we adopted have you as present at that meeting. It was quite a while ago. It was July 29.
I don't think I was there.
I actually think you were, Sean. I didn't want to contradict you, but however,
I'm in so many meetings, I might not remember.
During this rather tumultuous time, we've all kind of lost track of time in general. Yeah. But I believe John Silbert was the only member of this subcommittee that was not present.
Okay.
And as I say, with July 29, it seems like a long time ago.
Yeah, that was 1,000 years ago for me.
Yeah.
Yes. Well actually, your presence was appreciated, even if you don't remember. That's who was present. So that answers your question, I think.
Did we allocate out different jobs for people, or what? What did we do?
No, we did not. Lucy Prasker, who is the chairman of our planning board, indicated that these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 kind of thematic things she kind of requested that permeate our discussions.
Yeah.
And so it seems to me that it's a little premature to discuss these in any detail until we get this, as I indicated earlier, eagerly awaited report that I guess is coming very soon, and that the entire board will discuss. And I wonder if everyone agrees that we ought to defer our discussion of these 6 thematic issues until after we get that report.
What I recall from the last meeting was that there was agreement that people would think about between the last meeting and this meeting what data, what information you felt was necessary to answer the questions listed. It might be helpful, George, just to read them off for Sean since he doesn't have the minutes. But that was the homework for the subcommittee, to put together the questions and data they thought they would need to address these themes or these larger questions. And I don't know if you received any emails from your subcommittee group members responding to that homework assignment, or whether it just fell off the radar. But that is what was decided at the last meeting, that people would think about what data, what information would be necessary to address these big picture questions, and start putting that list together. And all the subcommittees have agreed to do that, and then present the lists that they come up with at the next full planning board to the full board. So my hope was at our October meeting that each of the subcommittees would have their list of questions, data they need to address the big picture issues from their particular perspective.
Okay, to answer one of your questions before I go through these thematic things, Chairman Prasker, I believe the dogs ate their homework.
Yeah, for sure.
And so I would suggest that these are, as we have recorded them in the minutes, the things to think about is what can a combined or more integrated district or districts do together, not do separately? What can the districts accomplish separately that can't be accomplished together? What works especially well? What could work better? Would a combined district foster innovation? What are major challenges of a combined district to overcome? And then there's a request for additional questions, if that is not a sufficient, robust list. So these are all in the minutes as adopted, which I will resend again in final form after the edits are there to all members of the planning board, obviously including the subcommittee.
So maybe with the, with the Mars reports that have been circulated, and in particular for this committee, I think the facilities report is very important since that's within your jurisdiction. Yes. And the additional information we're going to be getting on, not just, well, you got the enrollment data, but the additional report we're going to be getting from Mars on expense and revenue projections going forward. Once you look at that information and think about it, that may sort of help to inspire you to come up with the questions and missing information that you think we still need to answer those big picture questions. So it might help to read the Mars materials, is my point, in getting some ideas of where the gaps are in the information, what questions haven't been answered, what additional information or resources do we need to address those big picture issues.
Okay, thank you, Lucy. Does everyone agree that we've talked about this issue this evening about as much as we can at this point in time?
Yeah, I think so, George, because until we read all the reports that we got from Mars, and I haven't, so, that may bring up some new questions or maybe put to rest some questions I had. Who knows?
Very good.
And I think we need to keep this, our subcommittee, focused on operations.
Mm-hmm.
and not, all these reports. The reports are very detailed and go into things that do not have anything to do with operations. So we need to narrow that down to what we're supposed to be discussing in this subcommittee.
I agree. And since we're all members of the planning board, there will be certainly opportunity for others to discuss that in other more appropriate venues than the operations committee.
Exactly.
Yes. With no objection, let's go to some feedback on the DISC training sessions. I know some members of the subcommittee have participated in those. Some have not. Are there any observations about either the sessions themselves, the evaluation forms that were filled out, or the homework assignments that were given? And if we did more of that homework than some of the other homework assignments.
Doesn't sound like anybody did any damn homework.
Did you participate, Sean? Pardon me?
I'm just saying, it doesn't sound like anybody did any homework, so.
Okay. Sean, did you participate in the sessions?
I did not know.
Okay.
I did participate in them. I thought they were helpful. They made you think a little further out than you might have thought of how you're going to work with this and work with the other people. Working with the group that we had when we did the breakout was nice, but it was only, and I commented this on to Christine, that it was nice that we worked with our group, but our group fell through and we only had a few people, Steve being one of them that was on. But it'd be nice to work with some of the others too, because although we talk together, that's really nice, but we don't know much about everybody else. So maybe the thing to do is mix it up a little bit and, let us get to meet everybody in the whole, that's involved in this process.
Are you suggesting that at our next disc training, which is end of September, that we ask Chris to break out of the subcommittee groups and have breakout groups that include people from other subcommittees?
Yeah, I do. I think that would be beneficial. I mean, unfortunately, we had very few in ours, and I think one of our members had to leave early. So we had very few in our group, but that doesn't give us a feel for everyone else. I mean, we don't know what everybody else feels, and you like to get the personality of the person as well. So the only way you can do that is if you have, if you're able to talk to them a little bit. And I think that would be a good way for all of us to get to know each other.
Okay. Well, I will pass that suggestion along to Chris if we're going to have breakout groups in the next training.
It was in my comments, so I know she.
Oh, okay, great.
She got it from me too, but please go ahead and remind her, because
okay.
I think that's important.
Are there any other comments about this? Okay, hearing none, let me suggest we move on to the next item on our agenda, which is the next meeting. Should we await the reception of the Mars report before we schedule that, or can we kind of conceptually say that we'd like to have a meeting of this subcommittee prior to or after the October planning board meeting that is not yet scheduled? What are your thoughts?
I think if we get a chance to read all of what we received, and if we get the new information that Lucy was speaking about, that we might be able to do something with that. And it might not be bad to touch base prior to the full planning board meeting, the end of October. That's only, I think it might be a good thing to touch base before that. And that way we have a chance to talk about it a little bit.
Okay, good. Thank you, Tara. Any other thoughts about that? Or Marcy?
Yeah, I mean, I think that if we all get to read it, it seems like we should have an opportunity to read it before the end of October.
Okay.
Let's get together before then. That makes sense to me.
Okay, so Lucy, I believe you indicated that the entire planning board meeting would be sometime late October. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So shall we shoot for something like, let me get a calendar here. Wednesday, the 21st of October at 5:30. That would be assuming that we get this report relatively soon. That would give us a couple of weeks to review it.
That may be a difficult day for me because the next 2 days I have a 2-day conference that I have to be online for. So, I mean, I probably could, but I may be preparing for that because I've got to do some stuff for it.
Well, we can always doodle it again after we get the report.
Okay.
We could also take that as a strategy, but at least now we know what we're aiming for.
Okay.
Does everyone agree with that?
Yep.
Sounds good.
Good. Okay. It is now 6:01, and is there any further business that anyone wishes to discuss?
No, for me.
No. Okay.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
Wait, who made that motion?
I believe it was Tara. Or Steve made the motion and Tara seconded it.
Thank you.
For adjournment, correct me if I'm wrong, Steve, I don't believe we need a roll call vote.
We can do it by unanimous consent. No one seems to challenge that.
Do we have unanimous consent?
Yes.
To adjourn?
Yes, we
Yes.
do.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Thanks, George.
Thanks, George.
Good night, everyone.
No,
Bye, everyone.